everybody. Welcome to MORE-VILLE, ORVILLE, the podcast that reviews the ORVILLE, our favorite show. This is Mike L, and I'm joined by G.I. Jolie.
That's me, G.I. Jolie.
And Champ Ian.
Hi, Mike. Hi, Jolie. How you both doing today?
Doing awesome. And guess what? This show is so popular that we've actually already got a guest on our show. Yes. For the first time ever, we have a guest, Jeff Graham. Thanks for joining us, Jeff.
Hey, great to be on. Thanks a lot, guys, for letting me be on this great show. Appreciate it.
Thanks for being here, Jeff.
Absolutely. Before we jump in, can you tell us quickly why you love the ORVILLE? Or do you love the ORVILLE?
I absolutely do. As you guys talked about in your previous podcast, came in as a huge Star Trek fan, but I'm also a huge Seth MacFarlane fan. Family Guy is great, American Dad's great, and everything in between. And I also enjoy Ted, all his movies there. And I want to give this show a fair shot. And coming into it, I knew it was kind of, very obviously, I wasn't sure if it's going to be a blatant rip-off of a Star Trek or if it was going to go into a different angle. And the more and more I watched it, the more I realized that this is more of an homage, tribute to Star Trek. And I really enjoyed the different takes, and as well as Seth MacFarlane's own commentary on different things, much like Gene Roddenberry had on his take of different things. And this episode is definitely an example of that.
Awesome, yes. Now, let me ask you, do you wish that this is what Star Trek Discovery was, or something? Do you wish Discovery was closer to this, or what do you think?
Well, I am enjoying this more than Discovery. Unfortunately, I tapped out with Discovery about 3 or 4 episodes into it.
Yep.
Oh wow, that was soon.
But given though this, reintroduction into the Orville and getting my Star Trek, blood flowing again, I might give it another shake. Given that there's so many different seasons now out, I've only watched the first season of, the first 3 episodes of Picard as well. So I'm going to definitely rewatch that series again, try to get reestablished with that now that I'm kind of back in the cycle of things. But I'm really enjoying Seth MacFarlane's kind of, I guess, updated, looser reins of a Star Trek type of feel to it. And so, one way or the other, I definitely like this way of telling the story.
All right, so we are going to talk about an episode, Majority Rule. Now, what's the reason that you picked this episode again? For the one that your favorite?
Well, it's so out of the few episodes there, this is probably maybe top 2 or 3 out of the whole entire season. I really like the second last episode of the season, but this one here, it's very, very different than all the other ones. It's literally going to a planet that is just like Earth as far as looks, feels, humanoids, all that kind of stuff, but with one major difference, and that's what we're going to talk about today. When I first watched it, I'm also a huge Doctor Who fan. It really, really gave me wow, this feels like a Doctor Who episode. The TARDIS just went right in, and now they got to adapt to this type of this new scenario here, and just the right straight up the guy gets lobotomized because of what happened. That's just eerie, and just the sense of eeriness that this could easily happen just like that. That felt very Doctor Who, but with a Star Trek tinge to it, and with MacFarlane's own spin to it. There's a lot of different good bits, a lot of genres mashed into there, and that's why I loved it.
Awesome. Okay, so Ian has superhuman memory, so Ian is going to quickly summarize this episode for our listeners out there, just to remind them which episode we're talking about. Ian, whenever you're ready.
All right, well, this episode starts off with a cold open of a young lady who is getting up, starting her day, having breakfast, and getting ready for work. She's watching a morning show on television about the topic of the day, which is a couple of people who have fallen into some sort of trouble. They, I think one of them didn't stand up and give a pregnant woman his seat on the bus, and somebody saw this and took exception to it and shared it with the world. And on this planet, when you share something like that with the world, you are judged by your peers. And if they don't like what you have done, you're punished. There's no real system of jurisprudence beyond the majority rule. The two people that are being judged on this morning show are anthropologists who are from the Planetary Union who have gone missing, and they've gone missing because of this transgression. And the ORVILLE is enlisted to find and retrieve these people, to find out what's wrong with them. Now they send down an away team, and they have no idea what's going on this planet. They have no idea that everyone wears these little badges that shows how many upvotes or downvotes they have, and they run afoul of some local customs, and it's John Lamarr who finds himself on this show himself, and he is judged quite negatively by the populace for a lewd dance that he performs on the statue of one of their heroes. And he has to essentially go on an apology tour and try to convince everyone in the world that he is sorry for what he's done, and that he's learned his lesson, and that he is a valuable member of their society. And things are looking fairly bleak until Isaac, on the ORVILLE, he injects their news feed with a whole bunch of news that is favorable to John Lamarr, turning the tide of public opinion in his favor. And in the 11th hour, he's absolved and he's freed. And everyone lives happily ever after.
So this is obviously a reference to social media, Facebook. What else? What else would you call this, Jolie?
Twitter,
Reddit, everything basically, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the actual system by which I think
China?
the Chinese have enacted
the social credit system?
Yes,
Right.
social credit system.
So
Kind of scary.
okay, here's the thing. So we're changing the format a little. We're going to be a little bit more cash going forward. But since Jeff is our guest, Jeff, why don't you lead us and just tell us what you thought of this episode?
Well, yeah, right away, because of the ups and downs, it definitely reminded me of, just Seth MacFarlane's commentary on Twitter, how society is very, and this is we're talking season 1 here, so this is actually a few years back now, and since then it's even more, I guess, magnetized as far as what's been going on with society and everything. But even before then, talking about Twitter and how everyone is living and dying by people's opinions, and which has got nothing to do with them, personally themselves. Maybe it's just whatever all of a sudden someone posts on Instagram or Twitter or whatever the social media is. The master feed tells all, and that's what they live and die on this planet, is the master feed. It was very interesting, the commentary from the I think her name was Lucilla from the coffee shop, is that just explaining it to the doctor as far as, well, no, that's just the way it is. Why would you ever do something like that? Just a straight oblivious to anything that is what we here on this earth, this reality, feels is right and wrong. The society is extremely judgmental, and it really kind of took you back on, well, wow, like what could be, like if we really took it too far, how bad could we be? And I thought it was a very, very good interpretation of it there. So it was also interesting as far as going back a little bit, what the crew has to do and act with a society that they don't know anything about, laws and all that. And that kind of reminded me of, I think the first season in Star Trek, The Next Generation, when Wesley crashed right through the plants and got arrested.
I remember that.
Everything.
Yep.
And that's John bumping and grinding against the founder on it. He's like, well, what? Wesley, what would I do? So I thought that was a perfect little, like, adding, Star Trek fans into the now commentary of social media and what it actually could do. So it was definitely a nice bridge there. And again, that's more reasons why I like this episode.
We're going to get to this later because we're going to talk about Lamarr, but I think that scene of him grinding the statue was the weakest part of the whole show, because even if this show was not about what it was about, I just can't imagine anyone who's in the military, anyone who's on an alien planet in a culture they're unfamiliar with doing that. And even when I was watching it, if you didn't know the plot that was coming, you'd be like, that seems like really forced. Like, there must be a reason to get him up to... Oh, that's why. Okay. So I didn't like that. However, everything that came after that, I really liked about this episode. I mean, I'll talk about Lamarr more later. I didn't like him necessarily, but I liked the rest of it.
Yeah, especially since they set up the way that the two archaeologists were kind of being judged by the master feed and the populace. It was so subtle. Mm-hmm. And then when you compare it to the actions of Lamarr and how that got him into hot water, it could have been written as more of like a misinterpretation of something that he did. Because in the actual photo of the two archaeologists, it very much looks like they're just busy and they're not giving a pregnant woman their seat. They just didn't notice that she was there. Or maybe they didn't even notice that she was pregnant. It just appears as though, from the angle in which it's shot, the photo that got uploaded to the master feed, I can see how it was misinterpreted. I'm just agreeing with you that the plot point was weak.
Yeah.
The grinding of a statue of a hero was kind of like...
Yeah,
it just could have been more subtle.
Yeah. In fact, it would have been a better episode if it was just something more like... I don't know what. Like, even the baby, the man not giving up his seat at the beginning, you can see it go either way. If it was more like, oh my god, he was eating a hamburger and he put it on top of the statue. Oh my god, But the grinding is...
It was a little too over the top and obvious.
Yeah, they do it later on too. When Kelly and Alara go back to see Lacella in the coffee shop, she's wearing a hat.
Right, that's better.
And somebody comes in and tells Alara, oh my god, I can't believe you just wear that hat.
Right.
It could have been like that.
Yep.
That's the key, is if it's something that we would do that they would find offensive, whereas what Lamarr did would be offensive to pretty much anyone. Like, it looks idiotic, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it makes... We'll probably talk about this more later, since he's the character that we're going to focus on talking about in this episode, but it makes him look foolish. It makes him look stupid. It makes him look like less of a genuine person or like a likable character, especially for a character that we like pretty much know nothing about. And it's what, the 6th episode? Like, the 7th episode.
Yeah.
The 7th episode. We still don't really know much about Lamarr, and we're not really getting this isn't a great indicator of a great character.
Yep, I agree.
And the few things that we do know about Lamarr is that he's stoic and standoffish, and he keeps quiet and keeps to himself. These aren't really things that would lead him to jump up on a statue on a planet that he knows nothing about and start grinding some figure that, I mean, we don't know who it is, but clearly it's someone important enough to their society that they have a statue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just so weird.
Yeah, I got my thoughts on that. Oh, okay, sorry, Mike.
Oh, go ahead, Jeff. Go ahead.
Well, the character itself, I think, goes through some transitions, and probably talk about that later on in the episode. But yeah, that it was. I always called Orville like Star Trek with the volume turned up to 11, and this went past 11. It really did. I think McFarlane went way above what he's good at and just overshot it. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's probably... I mean, there's things that... Like, I love the cold open. In fact, I think more episodes should start like that. Like, the fact that it was off-planet, but we start off from the point of view of the aliens, I thought that was great. Mm-hmm. I mean, the fact that it was an almost exact duplicate of 21st century Earth was a little bit... You kind of just have to take it with a grain of salt, right? Or suspend your disbelief, I mean. But,
there's only so much they can do there. At least they went to the trouble of, they covered up all the badges on the cars.
Right,
so
yes.
You weren't seeing a Hyundai drive by.
Right. Pardon me. I like the scene of that guy selling the badge and like being sneaky about it. That was cool. Like little things like that. But I don't know. I guess the question is do we think that this episode was successful in addressing this particular social issue, if you want to call it that.
Well, I think this episode was, excuse me, I think this episode was great at showcasing this social issue. Beyond the Lamarr kind of going over the top, I can't find much wrong with this episode at all. In fact, I'm a big Black Mirror fan. I think Black Mirror is one of the better TV shows of our time.
Right.
And I was introducing a friend of mine, someone who had never seen Black Mirror, and I'm flipping through and I'm like, hey, I got to show you this one show of this episode of Black Mirror where they find this planet where everything is upvotes and downvotes, and I couldn't find it anywhere. I could not find this episode, and I'm going through episode guides of Black Mirror looking for it before it clicked in the next day. Wait a minute, no, this was an ORVILLE episode.
Yes,
and that is it's a compliment to this episode, absolutely. And I think that Black Mirror did an episode similar to this.
Yes, I actually have the Wikipedia page open right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's actually, it's called Nosedive. It happened in series 3, and it starred Bryce Dallas Howard, where I think they all had on their devices like a social upvoting, and it's just the same, but it's more like the, what did you call it again? The social
credit?
The China. Yeah, yes. It's more like the social credit system in China, where she's continuously downvoted because she's being mentally affected by the downvoting. So she's spilling coffee on people or whatever. It's just, or tripping, or not saying the right thing to her Uber driver. Whereas again, I'm going to use Lucella as a thing, but she just thinks Lamarr is cute and immediately upvotes him. She just touches, there's because you have to touch somebody to upvote them or downvote them. There's it's almost like a personal attack. It's a very forward thing. It's a weird interaction to be able to have other than a conversation with somebody, It's it's a way that if you didn't like what someone just said to you, you can reach out and just poke their down button and then walk away.
I know a number of people that I kind of wish had some of those badges, to be completely honest.
Well, the thing is in the last few years, I mean, I'm sure that there's been millions of people that have already said this better than me, but my impression of what I see on Facebook especially is that it's too democratic, and it's given an equal voice to I mean, it sounds fascist for me to say this, but it's given an equal voice to people that shouldn't have it. And the problem is not, it's again, this whole anti-intellectualism in the US where someone thinks, well, my ignorance is equal to your knowledge. Hey, you may have went to school for 7 years, but I know more than you about your field. That has been running rampant for years now. And I think that's what this is addressing. And they actually say in the episode, they use a term, absolute unstructured democracy. And I think that is the key problem here, right? And I'm not saying that I have a solution for how to fix this, but it certainly is an issue that I think needs to be addressed. And it's kind of unique to our time. It's never been this bad before. What, Julie?
Oh, we just get rid of Facebook.
It's happening. You guys saw the news, right?
I think a lot of us are close. Well, what happened in the news?
Yesterday, they announced that last month was the first time in 18 years that Facebook's daily users went down. So Wall Street had this big thing, and Mark Zuckerberg lost $31 billion in one day.
So if you look at the actual numbers, it went from, and they're not I'm not quoting real numbers, but I'm quoting based on my shitty memory. It's it went from 1.29 billion users per day. It went from 1.29 billion to 1.28.
Right. Yes. It's still significant that it happened, and the point is that
Well, do any of you have kids or nieces or nephews, or you have younger people in your lives? You know that they don't use Facebook. They refuse. Exactly. They refuse. None of my nieces use Facebook at all. They're on Instagram. No. They're on Snapchat. They're on TikTok. Facebook is a sinking ship. And
they absolutely refuse to use it, actually.
Mm-hmm. And part of that has to do with the fact that their parents and their aunts and uncles are on there. But a lot of it has to do, I think, with the fact that it's become this ungovernable wasteland where anyone can just yell at the top of their lungs, and everyone's opinions has equal merit, even if you're spouting off racist nonsense. So I don't think that they can fix that. And this episode is sort of touching on where this is going.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, bring it back to this one of the scenes. I thought it was a really quick scene, but I thought it was really, really poignant. It was because it was the scene where the sister's still in the coffee shop, and a woman in the late 40s, early 50s came up, and she said, "I just want a cup of tea." And as soon as she walked up, she looked at her badge and saw that she had something like 500,000 downvotes.
Right.
It's like, no, I read the sign, which smacks like, go to the back of the bus old mentality, right? Read the sign. No one 500,000 or under service here. And she referenced, well, this is something that I did, or this is related to stuff I did 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, that just reminded me of like all these things that celebrities and athletes are coming out and that people are not getting jobs or getting cancel culture, whatever it's called, about stuff they posted 10, 15, 20 years ago on social media. It's all still being recorded, and people are leveraging that to find reasons not to give them a job, right or wrong. I'm not saying that stuff that they did 20 years ago is right or anything like that, but 20 years from now, I was a completely different person. So the same goes true with everything else, in my opinion.
And the thing is, I definitely agree that people doing, there's such a thing as someone deserving to be canceled for something they're doing right now, right? But something they did 20 years ago that at the time was perfectly acceptable to do, should they be canceled for it today? No, right? And
yes, if they're still it's
definitely
person.
An argument.
If they're still doing it, or if they haven't, what's the word?
If they haven't made it apparent that they acknowledge that they did it and that it's something that they don't believe in, or
well, I'm just thinking
that's what I'm saying. But there are still people who did really crappy things 20 years ago and continue to do lousy things.
Well, there's the extreme example would be Bill Cosby. The opposite extreme would be Justin Trudeau wearing blackface. The conservatives tried to turn that into something, but it came and went so quickly because thankfully people were like, this is not even worth talking about,
So obviously you haven't been on Twitter for the past 3 days.
Why?
I think blackface was trending.
Oh, was it?
And it was all just photos. Yeah, it's this convoy, whatever. We're not here to talk about the convoy, but it was just filled with that one photo of him doing Aladdin.
I'm sorry, but
and him in brown face.
He's just like, when I see that photo, I laugh because I just think, what a doofus. Anyway, move along. You know what I mean? And
right. Just put the costume on. Don't beat your face. Stupid.
Whatever. I mean, hey, I hate Donald Trump, but there's things that he's done that I laugh at more like there's things he deserves to be in jail for and things he's done that are just stupid. Like, yes, he stared directly into the sun, into an eclipse without any glasses on. Does he deserve to go to jail for that? No, he's just an idiot, And Justin Trudeau wearing blackface, he's just an idiot,
Yeah. So, do you know what? Okay, so let's talk about atonement, right? The one, and then bring it back to the whole, what I thought was interesting about this episode was the fact that they don't actually have court, they have apology tours.
Right.
So instead of having a lawyer, you have a PR agent. You're assigned a representative, and they help you, or are supposed to help you, during your apology tour. And your apology based on what was initially uploaded to the news feed or the master feed, it airs, and people are then given the ability to either, retract that downvote, or, you know what I mean, or upvote you, which I found was really troubling. And again, maybe we can roll in talking about the character into this whole into the speaking about the episode, because it didn't do any thing to service the character. The way that they wrote how he acted on the apology tour. I don't know if anyone else was kind of like, shoot, dude, this guy's going to get corrected. Because he said some weird, like Lamarr as a character, I don't know much about him, but like Ian said, he's like stoic, he keeps to himself, but the way he acted on the apology tour felt very out of character. I don't know if anyone else got that feeling from him.
He was clueless.
Yeah, not out of character, just like clueless, and he really had no remorse, I didn't think.
Yeah.
I think he did, but he couldn't. He didn't know how to show it. Like, I think he honestly tried to fake being remorseful. I'm talking to both ends of my mouth here, but he's trying. He felt bad, but he was trying to really animate how bad he felt. But he was still confused, I think, with this rule, this law, or whatever, and that was blocking, I think, his ability to actually show true remorse of what it actually did, because in his back of his mind, he's still thinking that this thing is so silly, and eventually people that I'm talking to, this entire planet of people, will see it my way because I think it's stupid, which is almost kind of, almost the exact opposite of what we're talking about. But and then he quickly, like, I thought it was funny and interesting that as soon as he sat down, one of the girls on the chat, after she explained, what he did and everything, walks up and goes, boop. And she goes, I want to do that. And the other girl's like, yeah, good for you. Not even giving him a chance to talk or whatever. Boop. Poke.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing is he might, because we might as well, let's just jump to talking about Lamarr for a minute. He might have been the absolute wrong person to have as the character who did this. Like, I don't know who else would have been better, but he's probably the least appropriate one, because at least, oh boy, here we go. What's the other character's name? Redhead?
Gordon Malloy.
Malloy. At least Malloy is known for saying stupid things all the time. He would have been better for this role.
He would have been, but at this point, you have to give Lamarr something.
Of course.
Right? Like, because we don't know anything about him. But, like, you're right, this was not the episode to put him in, because the entire apology tour is him basically doing what his PR guy is saying what his PR guy is telling him to say. He's making up stories. They're saying he's a vet. They're faking video of him with a dog. Like, none of this stuff is actually him. None of this stuff is actually his character. So we're taking a character that we know nothing about, and now we're just seeing them kind of riff and improvise, which doesn't do anything for us.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm just gonna say he is my least favorite character on the show. Of all the, like, I usually judge characters by whether or not I would want to hang out with them or not. Okay. I would never. Huh? Go ahead, Jeff.
I want to party with him.
I wouldn't. I don't like him.
I want to party with him. Absolutely.
I don't like him.
At a party.
I don't think he's funny. I think he's kind of arrogant, humorless. I just never liked him. And even
he's a better dancer than I am.
Yeah. Even in this show, in this episode, it comes through. His attitude the whole way through is just like, yeah, that's exactly what everything he does. The way that he even as an actor, the way that he when he's first given the explanation, not by the lawyer, but the guy he thinks is his lawyer, who's actually like the PR guy, the way that he gives the explanation and then Lamarr laughs in his face, I'm just thinking, like, this guy's not really suited for this role. Like, I don't know anything about this actor. I guess was he a voice actor on Family Guy before this or something? I don't know anything about him.
He worked a lot with Seth MacFarlane before.
Okay. I just, personally, he's my least favorite on the show.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
He was actually a receptionist at Fuzzy Door Productions.
Right. I just heard that. Yes, that's right. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I'm just not a big fan of his. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think no, he's probably the one of the weaker characters as far as if you got to rank them. However, I do think that his character development is the second best throughout the next two seasons.
Okay.
First as much as Isaac, I think. But I think he gets stronger and stronger as far as, because he finds himself, and we'll go to that. You guys will go into that in the next episodes or so. But it takes a lot to get him out of that kind of shell there to, well, quite frankly, smarten him up. So I think there is a chance for the character. Now to your point, Mike, the actor itself, yeah, maybe there's an argument there that could have been cast better.
Mm-hmm. What do you guys think?
I think he should have been scared at some point.
Yeah,
that's the one thing that's missing, right? Like he doesn't seem to understand what's going on. He doesn't take it seriously, and then he just kind of sheepishly does what he's told. But he never looks to be like afraid of what the consequences might be.
Great point.
And when we're talking about being lobotomized, like he has no idea what's going on, and that itself should be enough for him to be freaking out about this.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one of the big problems that I had with the apology to her part of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like up until now, we're on episode 7, and I don't feel any type of way about Lamarr because I don't know much about him, and it's kind of that sucks. He's one of the only people of color on the ship, next to Claire Finn, who is the doctor, and
Bortus. Anyway,
he's a Mocklin. We know so much about every single character on the bridge except for Lamarr.
Mm-hmm.
He likes soda, he likes to party, and boom.
Right? Immediately when I was trying to remember how they all reacted to that first introduction when the captain's kind of like going through them one by one in the lineup. And it was that soda question that was like, oh, I'm gonna like this dude,
right?
And then to have done nothing with him for the next 6 episodes practically, and then drop this in our laps for the 7th, where he just like plays this buffoon, this arrogant buffoon. It really put a bad taste in my mouth. And knowing what's to come, because we are rewatching the episodes, don't get us wrong, folks, like we've seen these, knowing what's to come for Lamarr, I know his character gets better, but up until this point, I can effectively say that I don't like anything that's happening with him.
Agreed.
Other than, like he works well as like kind of a foil for Gordon Malloy, like not a foil, but like a buddy.
Mm-hmm.
But that's about it. Like they get in some hijinks, but that's it. He wouldn't be able to do that if Gordon wasn't part of the joke. So,
right.
That's a good way. That's a good way of looking at it. Like what would his character be like if Gordon wasn't there? Right. Like Gordon's character stands on his own. Right. Bortus's character stands on his own. Isaac's character stands on his own. Lamarr needs someone around him to help prop him up. And if Gordon's not there, he's just sitting there. And it's, yeah. I know he gets better too, but like for the purposes of right now, we don't know this yet, essentially.
Yeah.
So is there anything, Jeff, that you think as far as the show itself, on previous episodes we've talked a lot about the tone. Were you surprised that as the show went on, it got more serious? Or
as the
series went on, like obviously
the series went on. Okay.
Yeah, like season 2 is much more serious than season 1. Did you prefer the tone in season 1, or do you like the direction it's kind of been heading?
I like the gradualness of it. I mean, yeah, I definitely enjoyed obviously season 2 a lot more than season 1. I think season 1 it was Seth trying to figure out what he can do, get away with, and how strong of a writer. Like Seth MacFarlane wrote this episode. So I think there was a lot of feeling outs for that. Favreau did some consulting with them and probably guided him to what he could do and can't do. And I think after he took a step back and looked at season 1, he probably pointed at, okay, I need to push this more. I need to be more dramatic here and get some more, some different writing styles on this one. And it worked out. I mean, that's why I like this show in its totalities, because of the evolution. It reminds me a lot of Breaking Bad. Breaking Bad, I always felt, got better and better as the season went. It actually mirrored Heisenberg's downfall, the badder he got, but you know what I'm talking about, the worse that he got, the better the show it got.
The more broken he got, yep.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. So so this kind of reminds me of that. The more experience that that Ed as a commander is getting, the stronger the episodes that Seth MacFarlane is writing, in my opinion, or being part of or producing. So that's why I'm really enjoying this whole experience. Definitely looking forward to season 3. March 14th, by the way. Or 7th. What is it? Cheap plug. But yeah, no, this episode, I thought, again, it was one of my favorites so far in this season. Even, again, going back to some of those little things that, like Seth MacFarlane just randomly talks about, again, puts his own spin on things, on his kind of viewpoint on things like why not talk about the fact that in the board meetings that they have, there's not pretzels and water out. So he tells Bortus, hey, get on that.
Yeah.
Those little nuances that you kind of go back like, hey, yeah, that's interesting. And I'm my background. I'm a manager for a bank, so I do have to manage like employees and deal with different situations and all that. And I think MacFarlane is just kind of like in this. I'm trying to figure out myself. I'm trying to figure out my team out, and it's coming out like that. And again, that's putting me in the role. I can really relate to it. So that one made me laugh a lot there. And again, going back to what we already talked about, Bortus is a great character. And in this episode, you first learn about the fact that Bortus can sing.
Oh my God, I forgot about that.
He brings it up ever so slightly. They talk about how this is
you
like
will
American
be silent. Sorry, I screamed. I woke up my neighbors. I screamed so loud. I just knocked over your camera. Sorry about that.
But yeah, they talk about American Idol because this whole thing is kind of reminiscent of that. And he goes, I can sing.
Yeah.
And Ed looks at him like, what? And then that's it. And then it goes on to, then that brings it up again in episode 9.
Right. Oh my God. I forgot about that. Anyway.
So those little things I really enjoyed. And this episode had some of them, but more though than not, it had a really good commentary on things.
So have you gotten any of your pals into the Orville the way that Champion has, or G.I. Jolie and I have? Because there's been people who have... sorry, go ahead.
I got my mom into it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Perfect.
She liked Star Trek. She liked The Next Generation. Never got into Deep Space Nine or Voyager just because, it just wasn't her thing there. Going back to what you're talking about in season 1, I really got into Deep Space Nine the second time around. After I figured out what it was really all about, I love this. I love the different style it took. But my mom stopped at Next Generation, and I said, "Hey, give this a view."
Sure.
And episode 2, Bortus sat on that egg.
Yep.
She lost it, and she's like, I got to see this through. And then she saw the whole season 2 stuff, and she was hooked from there. So
good job. No, I mean, I personally can't imagine anyone watching the first, like, at least give it 2 episodes. Even though I thought the first episode was good, I think the quality jumps with episode 2. So yeah,
100%.
Got to give it at least a few episodes for sure.
Yeah.
But anyway, does anyone else have anything else to say about this episode? Majority Rule. Great
episode.
Yeah.
Probably my favorite so far.
Interesting. Okay.
It was a polarizing episode too. I read some feedbacks on it, and a lot of people are split. A lot of people liked the homage to Black Mirror. A lot of people took exception to it.
This came a little before the Black Mirror episode, didn't it?
I thought
like
it came
5
out
days.
earlier.
Oh, like 5 days.
Oh, really?
The timing is incredible. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, at a convention, I think Seth MacFarlane addressed it in like one of those like Hall H conversations where he was like, "Oh, people are going to think we ripped off Black Mirror." But they did air first, and then Black Mirror came second.
And I gotta say, the timing of coming out the same month as Discovery is just impeccable, right? Because I think it lays bare, to me, all the problems I have with modern Star Trek. And I don't give a shit about corporate ownership and who owns what copyright. Gene Roddenberry's dead, so as far as I'm concerned, if Paramount's not going to do a good Star Trek, why can't anyone else? Ian, you look like you want to say something.
Oh, no, I just agree.
Oh,
I just agree completely. Like, this is, like, the Orville is quickly becoming a better Star Trek than Star Trek.
Yep.
Here's a fun fact to kind of help that out there. McFarlane, again, going back to why I like this so much, McFarlane, the voice of the computer voice, and I don't know how often she's on there, but the computer voice in Orville is Rachel McFarlane, who is also on American Dad as the daughter and everything, and that's McFarlane's sister. The voice for Star Trek, the computer voice,
Next Generation,
is Next Generation. Thank you. Is the name slips me now. Majel Barrett. Gene Roddenberry's wife. So I thought, hopefully this is the case. Maybe I'm overthinking it, but hopefully Seth MacFarlane saw that and paid homage to a family member. Okay, I got Gene had a family member play the computer voice in Star Trek. I'm going to do the same thing in my adaptation. So I thought that was pretty neat too as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's got to be intentional.
Yeah, 100%.
I hope so. Anyone could have been the voice. So
right.
So clearly he wanted her.
Oh yeah, and I think he's like obsessed enough with Star Trek. Why computer is.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I think that wraps up our review of Majority Rule. We want to thank Jeff for joining us.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
Yay, thank
you. This is great. When I watched episode 1, I immediately messaged Mike and I said, hey, whenever you need me, I love to participate.
That's great.
Orville is my jam.
I think a lot of people are coming out of the woodwork. A lot of people that we didn't know like the show. So this is good. We want to help Seth MacFarlane any way we can, right? And this
100%.
show is going to do it. And it's going to do it on Spotify, where everybody listens to podcasts. What are we going to say? Also, you can hear our show on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher. You can follow us, Comic Book Syndicate, on help me out, Jolie. Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Comic Book Syndicate
Facebook,
website,
Instagram. Pretty much wherever you access social media, except for places like TikTok and Snapchat. If you search Comic Book Syndicate or at Comic Syndicate, we're there. Anywhere you listen to your favorite podcasts, you can listen to this podcast by searching MORE-VILLE, ORVILLE, not for the Comic Book Syndicate. But hey, it has a permanent home on our website, which is www.comicbooksyndicate.com. This and all of our fabulous podcasts will be available, so check it out there. Leave your comments there. We love to hear from people.
That's right.
We'll maybe even name a segment after you.
Make sure you upvote.
There you go. All right, guys. So until next time, there's more where that came from.